Let me start with Mr. Leon here. Legally speaking, I quoted the department last week saying that they are not going to be involved simply because this is an illegal mining activity and therefore the owners of the asset should be responsible. Legally, should the department get involved here?
Well, I really think that's an abdication of responsibility, Kalani, because, I mean, the whole issue of mining is really within the department's control. I mean, you cannot mine in this country without a license, and that's the case in most countries in the world, and that's how it should be. I just think it sounds to me, I don't know all the facts in this particular case, but based on what you're saying, it does sound like an abdication of responsibility because they are the prime organization or department in the country which is responsible for mineral regulatory issues and the grant of licenses, health and safety, I mean, you name it. I mean, I suppose they could argue that some of these issues are matters for the police in relation to breaches of the law, but the primary responsibility does lie with the Department of Mineral Resources, so I'm surprised by their statement.
Presumably it's because of the implications, though. If they take responsibility for this issue, then it means they've got to make sure that they do something to bring to an end this illegal mining, which apparently is quite widespread. What are your experiences? What do you know, Mr. Leon?
Well, I don't know how widespread it is here. I certainly think it goes on. It's much more, it's a very, very serious problem in other parts of Africa. In Tanzania, it's become almost endemic in the gold mining industry, and it's created major problems for the gold producers up there, where, effectively the government has abandoned responsibility, or seems to have abandoned responsibility for it, and the matter's been left to the mining companies themselves, which is actually undesirable, because effectively you're turning the mining company into a policeman. Now, that hasn't happened here yet, but I mean, there are some indications from the statement the department's making or made about this particular issue that they may be heading the same way.
Mr. du Plessis, do you have a view about how widespread it may be in South Africa?
Absolutely, Kalani. It's definitely becoming a very challenging situation for trade unions, Department of Minerals, mining houses, etc. But there are obviously a lot of causes for it, and the fact that the estimate is that it's approximately 400 illegal mine workers operating in the East Rand area, and then approximately 900 in the Free State, and then also in Mpumalanga there's also a high concentration in the Northwest. But it's not such a simple matter as just turning it into an illegal matter. There's obviously a lot of causes for it, but definitely it's you cannot condone those actions, and it remains illegal. But I also have a lot of sympathy for some of those individuals getting involved in this matter, but nevertheless it's starting to threaten obviously the sustainability of the South African mining industry.
But Mr. du Plessis, if somebody has statistics about how many people, I know it's estimates, then it means they are known where they are. Why then are they not being dealt with? Legally, I guess.
The one thing, if you look at the East Rand, for instance, there are a few hundred open shafts, holings and inclined shafts that needs to be closed off. Secondly, it's a roaring business. There's an opportunity. The people working there are obviously, most of them were either retrenched from one of the mining houses or they are from foreign nationals who needs to support their families, and there's a willing buyer. So whilst there's a willing buyer and an international market, this trade will continue. So that's where the problem stems from, is that there are international buyers, there are exporters, and there are local syndicates involved. And the problem lies above the ground. The problem is definitely not underground. At the moment, the focus is on illegal mine workers underground. But if we need to address this issue and resolve it, we need to look at those people above the ground.
The buyers, are they syndicates as well, or are they just individual business people who obviously masquerade as legit business people?
Kalani, when we spoke to some of the illegal miners last week, whilst we were monitoring that incident, they told us that there are two places where they can go to. One is in Breer Street in Johannesburg or in Davidton. There are an offset area where they will basically process it and pay them 310 rands a gram. They said, but they know that is just purely the middleman. From there on, as they indicated, they go to Sandton and they sell their gold to the international buyer. And that is why I'm saying there's a willing buyer. You sit in exactly the same situation that you're faced with rhino poaching, that you need to get to the person who's buying the end product. And that is very complicated. And as I said, as a result of socio-economical circumstances in Southern Africa, you will never, ever be able just to stop it. There's no quick fix unless you manage to get the person who's the end buyer.
You know, it's interesting because at some point, Mr. Baleni, I remember National Union of Mine Workers accusing Harmony Gold, it was in particular, I think it was in the Free State, of collaborating with the syndicates here. What are your experiences about these matters, Mr. Baleni, and how should they be dealt with?
Let me start by saying, Baleni, there are two main contributory factors. The first one is the high unemployment level. The mining industry used to employ over 800,000, we're down now to about 400,000. Secondly, there is a market for illegal trading, especially from these syndicates. The third point is that the gold plant, the security used to be very lax in the past. Now the mining companies have tightened the security where the gold plant is processed, so people have no access to that. Hence, these syndicates are now getting runners, especially in the abandoned shafts, to get gold.
And just give us an idea of the situation where or the circumstances under which these runners work. I mean, we've heard from reports situations being described where people spend a year underground, eating there, living there, doing all sorts of other things that a human being is supposed to do in the same spot. Mr. Baleni, do you know anything about it?
Yes, those who have interviewed and the briefing we have received from our members, coming back to your earlier question, is that these guys are bribing various levels of management. We have seen, for example, where they will receive explosive to be hoisted. Now, to get explosives, there's a particular process you have to follow. But those explosives will be hoisted for the illegal operators. There will be food loaded underground for these illegal operators. So to do that, you really have to be able to bribe the line function of management, from security, from managers, and so on. So this is what we've seen that they're
So it's the collaboration between
there's collaboration. These people stay sometimes about 3 months or so, and what they are using also, they've been using threats to mine workers. They will identify you and say, you will supply us with bread, and they will identify another one and say, you will supply us with particular food. And if you don't do that, we know your family, we know you stay. To an extent, in Harmony, food parcels are banned. Workers go underground without any form of meals, given these illegal operators. And that put some of the workers with sugar diabetes and so on in a very challenging situation.
Gideon, do you want to comment on the conditions where these workers are working?
Yes, Baleni, when we interviewed, for instance, the one person, Mr. Mkwawembu Ndlovu, he's a Zimbabwean citizen, and when the 32 mine workers were also working the same area where the rescue team went in, he came out with the rescue team with 4 of the other illegal mine workers, and we interviewed him, and he indicated first of all, they know it's a suicide mission because there's no ventilation, so they attract a silicosis, so it's a lung disease. So they said they know it's a question of time. There might be a rock fall or a fall of ground, but the fact of the matter is a dangerous situation to start off with. Then they've also indicated there are certain shafts where it can get up to 53 degrees, and they have to work there, and a lot of people die there as a result of exhaustion. And there are quite a few mine workers who've died, most probably a few hundred that we are not aware of. But they've also indicated that if they are not confronted by whoever come across their path, they will obviously not react in an aggressive manner. So therefore, they're not out there, there's this perception created that they're a very dangerous group of people. Yes, there have been a few accidents, but nevertheless, the conditions is very bad. And we've also noticed that when some of those mine workers came out, they said to us they've been down there for weeks because they need to have a specific quantity of concentrate with them before they can go out. Otherwise, it was a worthless exercise. And as a result of there's a lot of faction fighting taking place. In other words, there's now a new group that basically will go and rob them. They will leave them for a few days, and then they will go down and rob them for concentrate. So they said, so they've got their own internal threats. So if you put it all together, and we've asked Mr. Ndlovu, but why do you do it? He said, I've got a wife and I've got 2 kids, and I don't steal. I thought it's an abandoned mine, and in the end, this is what I do to survive. I take full responsibility. I know my chances of getting killed for whatever reason, it's extremely high, but it's a question of survival. So from that point of view, from a human perspective, it's an extremely sad situation. But as I said, I repeat, it's still having a massive negative impact on the South African mining industry.
All right, let's go to the lines here. Let's quickly take Mike in Cape Town. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Scolani. It was
Hi.
nice to meet you the other day. Thanks for taking my call.
Nice meeting you too, yeah.
It was good fun. Just two things quickly. I think that firstly, we just need to really establish one thing, that this is a crime, and the crimes are all over the country. And where are the police? I've just Googled them now. The police did not stick around. When those illegal miners came out of the mine, do you know what the police did? They drove away. They actually drove away. They didn't arrest anybody. They didn't interview anybody. And when one of the police was asked why they've taken action, he said it's orders from above. It makes me wonder just how deep this thing runs, and, of course, how much we're going to miss the Scorpions. So I then further Googled the chief of the police. The only comment coming out of the police, Scolani, is the fact that they're currently flying around the country trying to find out who leaked the information on the firearms control statistics showing that 4 out of 10 policemen don't know how to use their firearms. Nobody in the police has made any comment about this tragic accident and the fact that our national resources are being plundered in front of our very eyes. How can the police allow miners coming out, illegal miners, to just walk away? It's absolutely appalling, and I think really the debate lies first and foremost at the door of the police. This is an illegal operation. We need the police to act, and act quickly. Otherwise, we can only assume that corruption is running high and fast in this matter. Scolani,
Right.
thank you.
That's Mike in Cape Town. Let's go to Naeem in Alberton. Hello, Naeem.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, thank you for holding. Yeah.
Let me just, before making my point, let me just highlight two of the issues that your guests have raised previously. One is the poverty in the country, the retrenchments of the mines, and add to that high CEO salaries of these mine executives, and the above-the-ground corruption, the syndicates who deal in legal and illegal companies in plush, leafy suburbs, plush offices. This is a bane on our society that is many times overlooked. I think in my contribution to this discussion, I think we need to re-examine the whole concept of legal mining, illegal mining, and immoral mining. What is regarded as legal mining? How did these corporations actually get the land and the resources? Did they get it legally or illegally? In fact, maybe a lot of the legal mining is actually fundamentally illegal. How did the Barney Bernato and Cecil John Rhodes get hold of and monopolize all these resources take it away from the people of this country? And that leads to my second point. Maybe the same people that are doing the illegal mining are actually descendants of the people whose land was stolen. If that is the case, then obviously they are perfectly legal. If it was their land that they are mining on, then it's definitely legal for them to make use of the resources of their land. And then we come to the immoral mining, which is legal but immoral, which we have, acid mine drainage, all the lung diseases, the poor salaries, the exploitation on the mines, the harsh working conditions. So, I think we need to re-examine. It's not just a black and white issue. There's legal mining and illegal mining. Perhaps the legal mining is largely, many overwhelmingly illegal, and it's the poor illegal miners that are now being doubly victimized. Thank you.
Zinga P. Jagoja, she speaks on behalf of DMR. Thank you very much for calling us, Zinga P.
Thank you very much, Baleni. Good morning.
Morning.
Baleni, I just want to just quickly clear two things that I've picked up in this conversation. Number one, we did not decline the invitation to come onto your show.
What happened? What do you mean?
I indicated to one of your producers that today we are hosting a media briefing, and this matter is expected to be one of the matters that we're going to be clarifying.
So
and we said that if we can perhaps consider another date, we are more than willing to come on air and explain exactly how the department is involved and where it's involved and begins and where it ends. So that is one misconception, I think, a perception that is out there.
Yeah, fine. But I think that's a technicality because the issue is...
And then the second one, Baleni, is the fact that Mr. Leon referred to the fact that those shafts in Grootvlei are abandoned. Everyone knows that Aurora bought those old shafts, and we know what is happening in regards to Aurora. And the thing is that people made profit there. Companies made profit, and they cannot then abdicate their responsibility relating to what they need to do at those shafts. And then secondly, the department has acted in a number of ways. We convened a meeting of all affected parties last week to actually get down to what needs to be done there. And so I don't understand when people say the department has not done anything. The department has acted, and a task team that the department itself has set up. And it's a multidisciplinary task team so that we look at this issue in a multi-pronged manner, because it's not a very easy or cut and dry matter.